even the Raiders in that game the other night against Jacksonville, there's 3 50-plus yard returns in that game. And this we're all seeing this dynamic kickoff, how it's playing into these games and how much of a big deal it is. We're just about 80% right now for the for the return rate. So it's really changed. I looked at the stats this morning. It's amazing. If you compare it to 2 years ago to the old rule till now, how much different these games are because of it.
The Rizzler starts off Altitude After Dark. It's your guys, DMac with Mike Sanford. What are your thoughts about Rizzy these days, Coacher?
He's the special teams coordinator, if you ask Sean, of a 7-2 AFC leading football team, right? So all is fair, man. When you have the favor of the king and you are one of the knights, you're going to be protected. And it is what it is. I think that Darren Rizzi historically has been a good football coach. I don't think it's like this thing that's followed him everywhere he's been. But the bottom line is this year, and as coaching works, you're held accountable, or usually you're held accountable for what product you put out on the field. And to this point, it hasn't been consistently good, really, at any point in the season, maybe outside of the Cowboy game.
Welcome to Altitude After Dark, where we're going to preview the Broncos and the Raiders. We're brought to you by Journey Spice. Just go to this QR code, and you'll find yourself in spice heaven. Singles, 2-packs, 4-packs, for any meal you can imagine, from meat to poultry to breakfast to lunch, whatever you need to taste better, use Journey Spice. So easy to use, and we'll have more on Journey Spice in a little bit. But you can save yourself 10% using the code GETSPICY at Amazon.com. It'd be perfect for Thanksgiving, and it's a wonderful Christmas gift as well. Thank you, Andon and Rosa. We love you guys. We love the Journey Spice. Okay, Coacher, in terms of Sean Payton, yeah, he did defend special teams. I don't mean to belabor the fact, but you're right. You got the support of the king.
Yeah, listen, we spent some time on it. We had a video of the guys running on late, so we showed that video in front of the team, and I said, this can't happen. It can't happen in nickel. It can't happen in base. It can't happen, so we really got to be on point. And sometimes the challenge, and this has never changed, when there's an injury or two and a core teamer is playing more on one side of the ball or other, are we getting the same focus still in the kicking game? And so we met with a few guys. Those guys are working, and we'll get that ironed out.
Why are we making such a big deal about special teams? Well, the Raiders don't do a lot of things well, but Raheem Mostert is a pretty good returner. And it's crazy how long this guy's been in the league, but almost single-handedly, he flipped the game against the Jaguars. Swear to God, like, it was a big deal. And the Broncos are 31st in kick coverage, 31st. And they've lost the field position battle in all but 3 of their 9 games. I'm just pointing out, while you have Will Lutz, who was the AFC Special Teams Player of the month, and Jeremy Crawshaw, who is the Australian Punter of the Decade, you still have these crazy things, Coach, that could sneak up and bite you. And it is weird that it's special teams and there's something with it. And you want to point out like a guy running onto the field. How about the best kick blocker on special teams in the NFL is left unguarded? But we're going to talk about guys running onto the field instead of that. Listen, man, I think they're going to win. I want to get your take on it too. But this special team stuff is weird.
It's especially weird because of what happened a year ago. It's especially weird because I thought that outside of a very bad consequential play against the Kansas City Chiefs, where you had a kick blocked. You made a move. You made a decision to move on from Ben Kotwicka, who, outside of that block kick, did we ever say we have terrible special teams units?
That was an egregious error, but no. Aside from that, and then they did straighten it up because they moved Forsythe and Pert. They switched them, and that seemed to do the trick. Now, why they didn't do that in the first place, I don't know. It cost you a game against the Chiefs. That sucks. But you've been kind of dancing with the devil here on special teams.
For the majority of the year, if not the entirety of the year. So, Yeah, I find it all very interesting. I find it, that unfortunately you've already essentially lost a game because of a very clear special team snafu, and that was against the Indianapolis Colts and the leverage penalty. And yeah, you could make the argument that penalty is only called in very rare instances when it probably happens.
But on that one, on that one, you got to remember they called a scheme or a play
first time ever.
Right? What are we doing here?
Especially on a 60-plus yard. What was that?
Right.
How far was that field goal?
60. 60 yes, 60 plus. Yes.
60-plus yard field goal where you're like, hey, how about you just run what you run? You account for the gaps. You tell your guys don't run into the kicker, right? Like it is what it is. It's just smarter players a better player, smarter coach a better coach. And to this point, that just hasn't been the case. And so I guess the Broncos, in this game against the Raiders, special teams is not going to be impactful in the outcome, I'm guessing. But you did bring up an interesting player, Raheem Mostert. If you want to have some nightmare scenarios, or if you want to bring back some old bad nightmare memories, think about that 70-point drubbing against the Miami Dolphins. That was Raheem Mostert and Devin Achane with its two running backs that I felt like they scored every time they touched the football.
I forgot.
It felt like a recent CU Buff defensive performance where the Arizona Wildcats just flat out didn't get touched multiple times on their way to the end zone.
We'll get to that because there's breaking news about CU according to USA Today. We'll get to that in a little bit. Meanwhile, at the trade deadline, the Broncos stood pat. Sean?
Specifically. Yeah. I mean, George and I each day talked about different things. And that's just how it turned out.
Was anything close at all today?
No. I think we discussed a few things, but all good.
How did you guys take stock of the receiver and, going into this, a lot of us just around?
Yeah, I saw a lot of that. We've invested in, we like this group and where we're going.
Apparently what they were in on, or at least curious about, was Jalen Waddle, and they didn't pull the trigger. And you saw Sauce Gardner go for 2 first-rounders. You saw Quinnen Williams being dealt. You saw a lot of big – well, I mean, you saw other – Jacoby Myers was, dealt for nothing, so he's not even on the Raiders anymore.
Which is kind of nice, right?
Well, yes and no. What made Myers expendable is Brock Bowers returning to health. Of the 29 passes they completed against the Jaguars, 15 went to tight ends, 12 to Brock Bowers. And
is it Meyer or Mayer?
You know what, man? I don't know. It's spelled Mayer.
I don't know either. I think it is Meyer, I think.
Christian Brown, Braun, Mercedes Lewis, Mar. I don't know.
Have we decided what Mercedes is?
I'm just moving on from it.
Okay. I think that's probably
we'll just call him it's funnier to call him Michael Myers like Halloween, but let me just tell you, they go to him quite a bit too, but Brock Bowers is the guy. So Jacoby Myers, they got Trey Tucker. He's a small little gadget guy, go get him, gadget dude. Other than that, it is all about Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers, Coach, if we're previewing this game.
Well, that's the image that I think a Pete Carroll-led offense, because he's not an offensive play caller, never has been, never will be, but most defensive guys do really like when the identity of your of your offense is complementary to the defense. And so which is the Raiders on the right-hand side?
Yeah, take a guess. Right, on the right-hand side. Look at that.
Is that bad?
Yeah. They don't do anything well. So this is the offensive comparison. And while you see the Broncos are 6-7, look at the Raiders, dude. What do they do well? Literally nothing. It's kind of insane to see, isn't it?
Do you find it funny when you look at the Denver Broncos offensive statistics? Do you find it strange that the very thing that Sean Payton is criticized for not wanting to do is the only category essentially that's in green in terms of tangible yardage?
Yes.
And that's running the ball. You're in seventh in the National Football League, and at times it feels like he's trying everything in his power not to run the football and only truly as a last resort. And then, of course, Bo Nix and the sacks allowed. I think that's a big reason why the Broncos are 7-2 is that Bo Nix doesn't make the bad play.
It's crazy. They're not great on third down. However, Bo doesn't get sacked. He just doesn't. And look at them in the red zone, too. Never mind a top 10 rushing offense with a great year by J.K. Dobbins. The only thing that the Raiders do well is not fumble. Yeah, but they have 11 interceptions, which is second to last in the league. They're horrible in the red zone, as was Houston, by the way. That bodes well. And they give up a ton of pressure. Their offensive line is just mediocre, to say the least. -5 in giveaway takeaway with Geno Smith making mistake after mistake. Coach, this is a game that you should cruise, at least on the offensive side of things, because theoretically you're going to force some takeaways, right?
Yeah. How's the Raiders defense looking? Do you have those stats?
Bam.
Okay.
Better.
So
not great though, but better.
Yeah, I mean, yards per play, not terrible. Rushing yards, right in the middle. God, look at that Broncos defense, my man.
It's unbelievable. It's unfreaking believable what they're good at. First in sacks, first and third down, first in red zone, first in yards per play, points per game, fourth, which is really impressive. No, it is absolutely. If you just put it all in one big package, this is the best defense in the NFL, in my opinion. And then,
does Max Crosby concern you at all?
Not really.
Is he healthy?
He's okay, but he, let me get here. In terms of sacks, he's got 5 sacks. You got Benito and Cooper that have more. Let me go back to the defense. This is shocking. 40 sacks for the Broncos, 16 for the Raiders, bro. So Cooper and Benito almost have as many sacks as the Raiders have combined. And Crosby's okay, but Bo doesn't get sacked. He doesn't. So, why? Well, the Broncos are also first in the league in screens. Bo's pretty mobile, and they've got a great offensive line. No, Max Crosby does not bother me whatsoever. However, Vance Joseph was being a little bit more cautious about Max Crosby, as he explains.
He's special. Obviously last year, the first game we played him, he kind of hurt us a little bit, a couple big plays. And the second time we played him, we put Patrick on him. He's that kind of a player. Watching this year, his healthiest and best game was last week, unfortunately for us. He had a big game again. He has got the size and the speed of an NFL receiver, but the size of a tight end. So the toughest job with him is getting him tackled. You can kind of cover him with a safety or a defensive back body, but can you get him on the ground? After he catches the ball. He made 4 or 5 big plays last week, with just catching the 10-yard spot route, and the rack after is major. So having a great plan to kind of get him rerouted early and just keep the coverage top down on him is going to be important to win a game.
Coach, he's really not a hold on a second. Let me get my stuff together here. He really isn't a tight end per se. He really is much more of a wide receiver. So, that's what I got on that.
You know what I see, DMac?
What do you got, buddy? I got some technical difficulties, but keep going. I'll straighten it out.
Can you hear me at least?
I can hear you. I'm going to get you here in a second.
Okay,
don't worry about it. There you go. There you go.
What I see out of Brock Bowers and what I saw out of him at Georgia, and frankly, way back when I actually recruited a young Brock Bowers. Wild to say this, but it was back in 2016 at Notre Dame. I was hearing about this sophomore tight end from Napa, California, and sure enough, that was the thing about Brock Bowers is he's never going to be this very long, huge presence in the seams. Although he can do that, he's built almost like a throwback running back, like a Tom Rathman or a Roger Craig, where it's about how he gets catches inside of 7 yards and then is so hard to tackle because, I saw him at the combine. He doesn't look that impressive until you see his lower body, and it's his quads, it's his backside. Like he is built like somebody that can truly run through contact. And that's the one thing I'll say about the Raiders as a whole is their 2 players that they have that they've really invested in the last 2 drafts are run after contact players. They're yards after contact guys in both Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers. So if there's one thing that Vance Joseph and this defense, they're putting a ton of emphasis on this week is you got to wrap up. You got to get these 2 players in particular to the turf because you need to get somebody else to the tackle point. And if you just keep leaving your feet, or if you duck your eyes and don't have a good tackling performance game, I do think that even though you probably still win the game, to be honest, even if you don't tackle great, you'll still probably win the game, but it'll be a challenge for potentially some of the playoff teams you're going to play where they do have really good players that can run after catch.
If you're just following along, welcome to the show. Make sure you like and subscribe. And thank you to our great friends at Journey Spice. We'll have information about Prime here in a second. Riley Moss, Brandon Jones, we're all back, as was Marvin Mims to practice. JT Gray, the greatest special teams player ever, has been released because of a hamstring injury. Coach, what do you got on this game? We'll get to Prime in a second, but what's your prediction here?
Oh, I got the Broncos winning big. I'm going to go. I think this one's going to be an offensive coming out party again, kind of like the Cowboys game 2.0. I get the Broncos scoring 34 points and holding the I think they're going to hold the Raiders to 10. I think it's going to be a blowout, 34-10.
I got the Broncos winning 31-13, but both of us have it the same way. We'll be on the Altitude TV post-game show, and we'll be here. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we'll figure it out after the game. It'll be a late one, that's for sure. But we got you covered. Here is Deion Sanders talking about staff changes.
Last week I asked you about changing responsibilities among your assistant coaching staff.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, those things happen behind the scenes. You tweak things.
Yeah.
At what point, though, after some of these losses, do you kind of lose trust in having the people in the right spots?
I might already change it and you don't know. I don't do stuff and blow the whistles in and make major announcements. Hey, I don't do that kind of stuff. I do it and I let you guys still take shots. You don't even know you may be shooting at the wrong target. So some things take place that you may not be privy to.
At what point?
Apparently, according to Brent Schrotenberger, what a name, from USA Today, Pat Shurmur was relieved of his play calling duties after the Utah game, and then we saw Arizona. Coach, your comments on that?
How wild is that it just year 3, about mid-season, a little beyond mid-season, this has now happened twice for a Deion Sanders-led offensive unit with a mid-season removal of a play caller. Happened in year 1 where Sean Lewis, who is now doing really good work at San Diego State, might I add, and his offense looks pretty dang good. He was removed of his play calling duties. You remember for who? You remember who ended up kind of getting him?
Was it Pat Shurmur?
Pat Shurmur. Pat Shurmur. So I always suspect, especially with years like with what Sean Lewis did, he was starting to get a lot of credit, especially in that first game against TCU in the first game of the Prime era. I would suspect sometimes that there are people on staffs, and I've been a part of this before where I was a play caller, where you got to keep your eyes on one guy. And a lot of times it's this senior analyst or it's this consultant that's kind of hanging around the building. And I've always been very, very, very leery of those types of guys on a staff. But I'd say that when you are that guy and you get into that role, you better be right when you get your chance. And frankly, it was never right. I will say this about CU. The guy that has taken over play calling duties is, in my opinion, the absolute crown jewel of the CU football staff, and that's Brett Bartolone. The reason I say that is I've gotten to know him very well. He recruits diligently. He's a great communicator. He's very intelligent. He's fun to talk ball with. I love Brett Bartolone, and I do think even though the Arizona performance wasn't great, I thought it was worse defensively. That's the side of the ball that's more concerning in terms of just effort and buy-in, and has the team given up? The defensive side of the ball and the tackling and the effort was atrocious. I thought once Juju Lewis came in, obviously it looked like there was at least some life on offense. So I think that you'll see a continued slight uptick in offensive production. And don't forget that Brett Bartolone was actually Prime's offensive play caller in his final year, I believe, at Jackson State. And so I'm a big Brett Bartolone guy. I can promise you this, just knowing the inner workings, Brett Bartolone did not weasel his way into this responsibility. He's respected. He's liked and he's a real ball coach, and I'm excited for him to get his opportunity to try to steer this thing in the right direction.
We got you covered on everything when it comes to the Broncos. We got you covered on Altitude After Dark. Make sure you like and subscribe. We both have the Broncos winning big, and we have special teams being somewhat of an issue, but not big enough to upset the apple cart this week. Join us after the game for Altitude After Dark post game, also on Altitude TV. Make sure you listen to Coach with Berto, while Alex Ryan Emmy will come back relatively quickly. That's from 10 to noon, and I'm on with Scott Hastings and Tyler Columbus. Make sure you like and subscribe from noon to 3, and thank you for watching Altitude.
There's a world of flavor out there, and to find it, you have to take the journey. Journey Spice Company handcrafts the most premium spice and seasoning blends that have no sugar, no salt, are certified USDA organic, non-GMO, vegan-friendly, and always planet-friendly. You are going to love serving amazingly delicious creations while knowing you helped reduce single-use plastics. Make sure to search for Journey Spice Company on Amazon today.